Hello and welcome to the next part of our Chapter a Day series, working chapter by chapter through the book of Genesis. If you've been following with us, you've seen the journey that we have been on from the creation of the world as the Lord spoke the universe into existence, to the creation of humanity to be the image bearers of God, to the separation which occurred when humankind turned in disobedience from God, seeking to be independent of Him. We've watched the journey that we have been on as we're seeing the plan of God's redemption unfolding. We saw the promise being given to a man and to his wife that they would become, through their offspring, a mighty nation, and then many nations, that there would be blessing, and that through this line all the nations of the world would be blessed. But we've been following the journey of real people interacting with a real God in real time. We've followed Abram and Sarai as God took them from all they knew. We saw their names changed to Abraham and Sarah. We saw the fulfillment of the promise after decades of the son Isaac. We saw how the Lord provided the wife to be his partner and how the Lord continues this promise with Isaac. And we saw how Isaac and Rebekah have children and how they have Jacob and Esau. And we've seen their character and how they interact, and it seems that in their fallen state they are far from God. But we're watching how God is working out his plan in them and through them. So let's pick up today in Genesis chapter 27. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called Esau his older son and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." He said, "Behold, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and prepare for me delicious food such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die." So we're told at the beginning of this part of the story that Isaac is old. We're also told that he is blind. And so Isaac, anticipating that his death is soon, wants to give his fatherly blessing to his firstborn son. Now we know from the previous chapters that Esau has already given away, sold his official birthright, his right to receive the bulk of the inheritance, the right to receive all lands that belong to his father. He actually sold that for some lentil stew, demonstrating his attachment to the physical now, to his immediate needs, to himself, and ignoring the significance of what he was doing and how it relates to the promise. But we have this moment here where Isaac is old, he's blind, and he wants to give the blessing that he would pronounce over the firstborn to Esau. And he's given Esau the instruction, go out, because if we recall earlier on, we were told that Rebekah favors Jacob, but Isaac favors Esau. And one of the reasons he favors Esau is because of the wild game that Esau can hunt and bring back and prepare for him to eat. So Isaac has said, Esau, go out and hunt, kill something for me, prepare it in the way you know I love, and then when you bring it to me and I enjoy it, I am going to give you that final blessing. But watch what happens. Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father speak to your brother Esau. Bring me game and prepare for me a delicious food, that I may eat it and bless you before the Lord before I die. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats, so that I may prepare from them delicious food for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies. What we see here, again, is that familiar pattern of human means being used to try to bring about divine promises. So Isaac is old, he's blind, and he wants to give the final blessing to Esau. But we have his wife, Rebekah. Remember, Rebekah favors Jacob. We also saw in the preceding chapter that both parents are bitterly upset with Esau's choice of wives. But because of Rebekah's favor for Jacob, she wants to ensure that Jacob gets the final blessing, not Esau. So she is beginning to devise a plan. A human plan that will bring about Isaac giving the blessing to Jacob, so in Rebekah's mind is basically ensuring that he is the one who comes out on top, the one who receives all the promises. Now listen to the response. But Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, "Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I will seem to be mocking him and bring a curse upon myself and not a blessing." What we see here is Jacob is looking at this and he's seeing the danger here. So Jacob looks at the plan and he sees danger. He sees the magnitude of what it is they're attempting. They're attempting to deceive It's all about deception. They're attempting to deceive Isaac. Rebekah is asking her son to deceive his father. And he's like, this isn't going to work. We're not even physically the same kind of people. If my father finds out, not only will I not get the blessing that we're trying to, through deception, to get, but he could curse me before the Lord. He could despise me. His mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go, bring them to me." Rebekah is all about the human means to bring about the benefit of promise. She is determined that her son, her favored son of the two, she is going to ensure he gets it. So she's thinking this through, using all her cunning and all her means. Verse 14. So he went and took them and brought the goats to his mother. And his mother prepared delicious food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her older son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And the skins of the young goats she put on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So you see how elaborate her plan is. She knows what Isaac likes. She's using her knowledge as his wife against him, again, for the purpose of deception. So she's got it all figured out. She's going to make sure that the food matches. She's going to make sure that the odor, by putting on Esau's clothing, which is going to have Esau's musky scent, his perspiration that is in the clothing, so it'll have his particular smell. and then using the skin of the goats, putting that on the back of his hands, arms, and across the back of his neck, that the feel will match. This is not just a momentary thought. This displays on Rebekah's part a lot of premeditation. This deception she is bringing about is something which obviously she has been considering for some time. Her deception to bring about the promise. We watch what happens. So he went in to his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here am I. Who are you, my son?" Remember that Isaac is blind. Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" He answered, "Because the Lord your God granted me success." Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Isaac or not." So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, who felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. He said, "Are you really my son Esau?" He answered, "I am." Then he said, "Bring it near to me, that I may eat of my son's game and bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him, and Isaac smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him. So we see here the deception being played out. At this moment, it is no longer simply Rebekah who is seeking to deceive, but now Jacob has taken on the responsibility for the deception. Now, when Jacob has the choice to say, "No, it isn't me, it isn't Esau, it's actually Jacob," Jacob does not. And notice particularly his words here. I want to draw your attention specifically to a verse that he mentions. As soon as he shows up, he says, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done what you told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me." You can almost hear the fear that Jacob wants to rush this through. It's like, "Hi, Dad." And he says, who is it? And he's like, "It's me. It's Esau, your firstborn. So I did what you wanted me to, so sit up, eat this, and then bless me, okay? Can we just get this done?" At first, there's that fear, that hesitation. Then notice when Isaac asks him how he found the wild game so quickly, notice what Jacob says, because it's a powerful statement. "Because the Lord your God granted me success." Notice there that Jacob denies personal relationship with God. "The Lord, your God, Dad, granted me success." He's saying what he knows his father needs to hear, because he's realizing, wait a minute, how did I pull this off so quickly? It takes a while when my brother goes out hunting. What can I say? So he lies. And even in his lie, he shows us where currently he stands with the Lord. This is important because this is part of the journey that we're going to be walking out. But as he passed all the tests, his father listens to him and says, "Your voice is Jacob's voice, but you feel like Esau. You smell like Esau. The food is here." So then he blesses him. "See the smell of my son. It is as the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers. May your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you." So Isaac gives the blessing, and as we see the words of the blessing are the words of the promise. The promise that God has given to Abraham, the promise that God renewed with Isaac. Now Isaac himself is speaking the words of the Lord's promise to Jacob. Jacob does not yet have that relationship with God, but Isaac is bestowing upon him, "Here is the promise given to me. I now give it to you." As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, Esau his brother came in from his hunting. He also prepared delicious food and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, "Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me." His father Isaac said to him, "Who are you?" And he answered, "I'm your son, your firstborn, Esau." Then Isaac trembled very violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? And I ate it all before you came, and I have blessed him. Yes, and he shall be blessed." All of a sudden, Isaac realizes he's been tricked. As he hears Esau's voice, he knows for sure before him right now is Esau, his firstborn. But he is already given the blessing. He has already given the blessing, and in Isaac's mind, the words he has pronounced before the Lord. The word he's had pronounced, even though he has been deceived, the words still hold true. The blessing still holds true. Now we know, because we can look back and see in the previous chapters, when God spoke to Rebekah when she was carrying the two boys, that we were told that the older would serve the younger. So what we hear is we hear the blessing, as we hear the promise being pronounced to Jacob, we realize that Jacob has now been set in the position where he is leader. He did it first through purchasing the birthright, and now by receiving the blessing, what God had already spoken is coming to pass. This is a picture where we see how the providence of God, how his sovereign plan is worked out even in the midst of human sinful interaction. Jacob's motives are self-serving. Rebekah's motives are self-serving. Yet in them, the Lord, in knowing all things, is still using them to bring about his ultimate purpose. So we continue on. We see the reaction. As soon as Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, "Bless me, even me also, my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully, and he has taken away your blessing." Esau said, "Is he not rightly named Jacob? Because he has cheated me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing." Then he said, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" And Esau answered and said, Isaac answered and said to Esau, "Behold, I have made him lord over you, and all his brothers I have given to him for servants, and with grain and wine I have sustained him. What then can I do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, "Behold, away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck." Now Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. So we see Esau's reaction. Esau too sees everything in the physical, in the here and now. So Esau, looking at the situation he finds himself, he goes, my brother deceived me, he tricked me, he caught me in a place of weakness so he could steal my birthright. And if that wasn't enough, that he had all the legal rights over me now he also took my spiritual blessing. He said he's lived up to his name. The one who grabs you by the heel and trips you up. The trickster, the deceiver. He's lived up to his name. Because he has taken away my birthright. He has taken away my spiritual blessing. And his father's only blessing he can give to him said, your brother will lord over you. Your brother will have the benefits you won't have. Your brother will. But there will be a time where you'll be able to throw his yoke off you. And Esau's response to this is hatred toward his brother. Esau's response to this is to take the life of his brother. He isn't going to do it while Isaac is alive, but he says soon Isaac will pass away. When my father has passed away and we're done mourning him, then I am going to take Jacob's life. But the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, behold, your brother Esau comforts himself about you by planning to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee to Laban, my brother in Haran, and stay with him a while, until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be reft of both of you in one day? Then Rebekah said to Isaac, I loathe my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob marries one of the Hittite women like this, one of the women of the land, what good will my life be to me? This particular chapter ends with more deception. It ends on the human plane with more trickery because Rebekah has heard what Esau is planning. Rebekah knows that Isaac may not be alive long. She's heard the death threat. It's interesting because she doesn't understand the magnitude of what she's done. Of what she's done in trying to manipulate the promise to Jacob by her means. Because when we look at it, she says, look, I want you to go away for a while till your brother calms down. After a while, he'll forget about what you've done to him. And you try to imagine he's going to forget. He's just going to forget that everything that was to be his, both legally and spiritually, has been taken from him by deception. He's going to forget that. But Rebekah is trying to calm Jacob. Jacob's probably scared to death. So Rebekah says, I'm going to send you to Haran so that you can hide there. And once your brother calms down, I'll bring you back. But of course, she can't say that to Isaac. She can't go to Isaac and say, look, I've sent Jacob away because Esau is planning to kill him because of this deception which I've orchestrated. So instead, what she's going to do is she's going to go to Isaac and say, Jacob needs a wife from our ancestral people. Just as your father sent a servant to get a wife for you, I want Jacob to have a wife from our ancestral people. But I'm sending Jacob. Notice the difference here. When Abraham said to his servant, no matter what, don't let Isaac leave the land that has been promised. But Rebekah, because she's operating under her own means, because this is all human effort in trying to shape the promise, Rebekah's like, I've got to get Jacob out of here. So I'm going to send Jacob to go find himself a wife. That's what we're going to tell. We're going to say he's going to get himself a wife, and we'll send him away. It's an interesting chapter as we wrap it up, because most of what we see in the chapter we're seeing here on the human level. We haven't heard from the Lord in this chapter. Instead, we've seen human beings seeking to carry out their purposes. So we have Isaac seeking to give the blessing and move it along, the promise. We have Esau expecting to receive it, simply because of the position he is in the household. We have Jacob, who's going to receive it by deception through the work of her mother. We have that deception continuing right to the end of why Jacob must now flee for his life and the reason that's going to be given for it. So it's strange in that way in this chapter, because in previous chapters, usually in the midst of this, we see God intervening. But here we recognize that God is at work. From the prophetic point of the previous chapter, we know that Jacob was going to be the one who is going to rise to prominence. That doesn't mean that it needed to be orchestrated, but it does know that God, knowing all things, knew how it was going to play out. But we'll see God's interaction as we move into chapter 28 next time. So I look forward to sharing that with you tomorrow. For now, I hope you've enjoyed this study. We'd love to hear your feedback. And as always, if it encourages you, share it with somebody else. Thank you, and God bless you.